good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels, and thanks to it being my Sunday, we are not awake at stupid o'clock. More's the happiness there, but we still need all the caffeine on the planet. Because, yes, personal news. Finally, thank you, Wayfair. Due to having decent insurance, I am finally, as of 2:45 this afternoon, going to be able to go and get new glasses for the first time in about 4 or 5 years. Thank God. But enough about me. So, folks, I can't remember whether or not I went over this article that the New York Times came out with right as the news of the FDA ban Overturn came out. So, just in case, we're going to go over it again, if we have already. It's too early. You can't expect me to remember stuff. Anyways, so a few disclaimers before we go ahead and get into today's article. Bleh, I can't talk. First off, everyone, as always, you will find the link to this article, as well as other pertinent links to the Stop the Shock campaign, especially most important, the templates that you can use in order to send it directly to your senators under the description box. Why are those templates important? Well, coming up next session to the Senate is a bill that will remove all public funding of the JRC, at least on a federal level, due to the fact that they use electric shocks. This has already got approval from the House. So please pick up those templates, fill them out, send them to your representatives. It is quite really the very least you can do. Also, you will find the change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. Why do I believe in this petition? Well, because the JRC somehow has this almost magical ability to, even when they are ruled against, somehow being able to squeeze it out in their favor and be able to continue to air torture onto the next generation of disabled kids. So, the only type of answer there's really going to be, the only way those kids are ever really going to be safe, is if we close down this school for good and grind that school building down to use it for gravel. Just saying. All right, folks. Also, it may not be stupid o'clock, but obviously, though more awake than usual, not still quite there. So, if I stumble over any words this morning, my apologies in advance. All right, so without further ado, the New York Times court overturns FDA ban on schools' electric shock devices. The New York Times can be 50-50 for me in regards to accuracy, depending on the topic. Here's hoping against hope they haven't, given in to the stupid. I don't have much hope, especially with the media these days, but we'll see. The ban sought to stop a school in Massachusetts from using shock therapy to prevent harmful behaviors in students with disabilities. And there's the device right there, attached to her leg. It's one of the electrodes. In Massachusetts, this is by Amanda Morris. So this came out July 15th. So this would have been a couple weeks almost since the verdict from the D.C. Circuit Court came out. A Massachusetts school can continue to use electric chalk devices to modify behavior by students with intellectual disabilities, a federal court said this month, overturning an attempt by government to end controversial practice, which has been described as torture by critics but defended by family members. Not all family members. I know a little name, New York Times. Her name is Miss Cheryl McCollins, and she is the furthest thing from a parent who is defending the school. Just saying. Anyways, interesting first paragraph here. Modify behavior. See, a lot of these words that usually trouble us when we are referring to any other minority, people seem comfortable with them when it is talking in regards to people with disabilities. Why is that? Because systematic ableism is very prevalent throughout our culture, throughout the world. So, what do I mean by that? Well, look at our media. And I'm not just talking Hollywood and the media out here in the good old ableist US of A. I'm also talking media throughout the world. What are the depictions of people with intellectual disabilities, especially autism? Especially autism. What do they show you every year? Every single godforsaken April. The meltdowns, the head hitting, the guttural nonverbal cries, the slamming into walls, the sobbing parent. It's all for everyone to make a quick buck off of people with disabilities. It really is. But what it does is it perpetuates an image of people with autism, people with ADHD, people with many types of neurodiverse disabilities. It paints an image. So, when people talk about modifying the behavior or controlling the behavior or teaching people to obey because of those very images that are inundated throughout the world, people don't react so harshly to these terms as they would with another minority. And they should. They should react with the same level of outcry. But they don't, because they've been getting that subliminal image of us their whole lives. That's why it's so hard for people to accept autistics like myself, autistics like Shane and Linda, and nonverbal self advocates. They find it completely difficult to be able to accept the fact that we do have autonomy. We do know what's going on around us, and we do have the capacity of thought to be able to advocate on our own behalf. We are not animals. We are rational, logical, thinking human beings, but that is not the image that has been subliminally put into everyone's heads. Just a little interesting rant I thought I would go on a little bit. It is torture, folks, and the only reason why so many feel like it is not is because of what they have been bombarded with what autism looks like their whole lives. Moving on. In a 2-1 decision, the judges ruled that a federal ban interfered with the ability of doctors working with the school. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center to practice medicine, which is regulated by the state. But to a point. To a point. To a point, states regulate the practice of medicine. This is true. But there are overreaching federal laws that impact all 50 states, that are laws that are meant to protect patients' rights. Even protecting patients' rights in the face of those who are disabled, whose carers are not making the right type of decisions for their health care. If you can think a few years back, those people who who decided to pray over their children who have diseases instead of getting them the right kind of medicine. Yes, the federal government did intervene. So, this was the type of thing us advocates were operating on when we went to the FDA in the first place, because this was the type of situation where we needed a federal agency to override what these guardians, court appointed guardians, and parents alike were doing to these kids, because it was not in the child's best interests for their mental or physical health. So, I wanted to point out the glaringly obvious. The Food and Drug Administration sought to prohibit the devices in March 2020, saying that delivering the shots to students presents an unreasonable and substantial risk of illness or injury. New York Times, they did actually enact the ban. It took them a disturbingly long time to do so, but they did enact it. They never enforced it, but they enacted it. Although the FDA's ban was national, the school in Canton, Massachusetts seems to be the only facility in the United States using shock devices to correct self-harming or aggressive behavior. But what you're not saying, New York Times, and I need you to do this if you're willing to do your homework, it kind of seems like you are at least a little bit, is dig into exactly what the JRC describes as self-harming or aggressive behavior. Because believe me, you're going to be surprised. And it's not just to correct self-harming or aggressive behavior. It is also used to curb any what they would call defiance. So what I mean by defiance, when a command is not automatically obeyed immediately. A command can be as simple and as harmless as a student wishing to have their coat remain on them. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. So dig into it a little bit more. The center serves and houses students, both children and adults, who have intellectual disabilities or behavioral, emotional, or psychiatric problems. Again, folks, we need to question this. We need to question this. Why are we treating those with different disabilities the exact same way? Why are we using a cookie cutter approach to people with entirely different diagnoses? This is absolutely insane. It makes no sense. Why are people with intellectual disabilities being forced to undergo behavioral treatment? People will say, but their behaviors, I will turn around and say, are due to certain issues, root issues. Those root issues, by and large, are affected by their neurological disability. It is not willful behavior that should be modified. It is something literally embedded in our brains. An issue pops up. Our brains will react a certain way. It's cause and effect. It's cause and effect. And because of that, to try this behavior modification and control bullshit to treat a neurological disability is the height of stupidity. It's like putting a Band-Aid over someone who needs freaking open heart surgery. Just saying. Behavioral, emotional, or psychiatric problems. Number one, autism is not a psychiatric disorder. I'll say it again. Autism is not a psychiatric disorder. It is not a psychiatric mental health issue. So, why are we treating the autism by treating it like it is one? It's not. And that is why things like this, things like ABA, cannot work. Not in the long term. You cannot treat someone with a neurological disorder with behavioral techniques because the issues don't start being behavioral. There's something else. Just saying. Critics have called the practice dehumanizing and abusive, with the United Nations labeling it torture, and the FDA saying it can cause long-term trauma. When you have a special rapporteur on torture, whose job it is within the United Nations to defend the International Coalition Against Torture, and they watched those videos from the JRC, and they had access to the surveillance tapes, and these experts tell you it's torture, you can't exactly come back at them with saying, but no, it's treatment and it helps them. Okay? They know their business. For all of you who want us to bow down to authority, except when it suits you, yeah. I've got a lot to say about those who think we should just bow, accept authority when it suits you. But then you can turn a hypocrite oh so fast if that authority disagrees with you. I got a lot to say about that. But I won't, because it's morning and I need more caffeine. And I got a few more things to do today before I get prepared for tomorrow. And hoping against hope I won't be stuck in back-to-back stupid queue again. So we're going to close out for right now. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, please don't forget to hit that like button. Hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.